Assalamu alaikum dear students, hope you all are fine. Today we are going to complete our previous topic that was in your previous lecture, that is use of figurative devices in literary and non-literary texts. Well, you must memorize that what is figurative language. Figurative language in literary texts primarily serves aesthetic and interpretative purposes. So, it does mean it shapes the artistic quality of the author's work, while in non-literary texts it functions persuasively and rhetorically. That influences the reader's emotions, attitudes and decisions. So, it does mean what? That the figurative language is important for which purpose? Yes, to create the emotional feel in the reader's mind or to get the main idea of the author's intent. So, in both cases it is a powerful stylistic tool that transforms ordinary language or ordinary language into something more vivid, memorable and impactful. So, it means it attracts the reader through the use of words, by the use of imageries and the symbols in the words as discussed in your previous lecture. So, the simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, etc., these were the devices of your figurative language as we discussed in the previous lecture. Today, in literary text, the use of figurative language will enrich your knowledge about the meaning, and as it adds the layer of interpretation and it creates what kind of aesthetic pleasure it gives to the reader's mind. For example, in Shakespeare's line, all the world is a stage and all the men and women merely players. You remember, this is the metaphor of life as a stage that transforms an abstract idea into a vivid image. It is the same case as William Wordsworth's poems brings the quality of nature into a materialistic world. It allows the readers to reflect on human existence. You know, these words are important to bring you from your abstract form of nature to the living world where you are living in. So, when Wordsworth says, I wandered lonely as a cloud, it uses the simile to convey the poet's emotional state and merge the self with nature. So, stylistically, such figures foreground language, making it striking, again memorable and sure to open the multiple readings. It means the multiple meanings of the words that comes to our mind. In non-literary texts, figurative language often has persuasive, rhetorical or commoditative function, that is commercial function of a language. It means for business purposes. For example, in advertisements, it is frequently used so that the metaphors and hyperbole can attract the attention of the audience. You know, for instance, the slogan Red Bull, for example, the slogan like the metaphor motivates resilience and collective hope. Here the stylistic significance lies in the emotional appeal and rhetorical impact rather than aesthetic beauty. Few others are imagery, symbolism and parallelism. That is what we are going to talk about today in our lecture. For example, the first one of our discussion today is imagery. The word itself, I have discussed it in your previous lecture as well. It is the word that creates the sensory experiences through words. And we know, as discussed earlier, Ted Hughes, who is a British poet known for his vivid animal imagery. His poems like the jaguar and hawk roosting showcase the power and symbolism of animal imagery. So, if it is so, how all the words created in this one example would affect on your mind? For sure, the nature of the animal as used in the title of the poem. William Wordsworth's poem, I wandered lonely as a cloud, provides a natural imagery that includes the birds, flowers and the other abstract nouns to bring into reality to evoke a sense of wonder and connection with nature. So, the term covers the use of language to represent objects and their actions. The feelings, that means the human feelings, the human thoughts, the ideological concerns, the state of mind of the author as well as the state of the reader is kept under consideration when these lines have been written, and any sensory or extrasensory experience that comes out of the using words into poetic version. So, many images are conveyed through it are of different kinds, like for example, the first imagery, it is created through visual form and we call it visual imagery, that is pertaining to the eye. It means what the words we use for vision. Olfactory, auditory, auditory means to listen something, abstract that appeals your intellect, kinesthetic that uses the sense of movement of the objects, tactile, it is the image that creates the touch or the sensory touch to be created, gustatory that is used for creating the taste of something. So, if it is so, how the imagery is created in the given poetic lines, this is the work for your to be done at your home. The second one that we are going to discuss is symbolism. What is symbolism? It is a device that is used to convey meaning beyond the literal interpretation of the words, and the word stands for an object that does not literally means for what it is created. So, let us explore its use in both literary and non-literary texts. We have already provided the example of a passage to India, where the sections of the novels like the mosque, caves and temple all stand out like collective symbols of the subcontinent that represents its social, communal and political stratification in the early 20s of the 19th century. So, if it is so, it is definitely dependent on the cultural aspect of that country in which that one novel has been written. So, it provides, fosters in-depth cultural study. I already discussed it in my previous lecture, you may refer it for your reference. Shakespeare's As You Like It represents a place of transformation, freedom and self-discovery. In the same way, meanings of few common symbols are provided in your reference list, or you may develop your list for the symbols to be developed in your text. Whenever they come, they would be having, might be as one meaning I am discussing with you. For example, the dove is a symbol of peace, we all know, but it is not always there. Like for the soap as a product, the dove is not a symbol of peace, it becomes a symbol of beauty. A ladder may stand as a symbol for a connection between heaven and earth. It may also represents or symbolizes the prophet. It may also symbolizes your state of interest, that is your target where you are standing, and many more like flags, like colors as a semiotic image symbolism in a text. Logos, very important one, is the word that stands for its semiotic as well as for its symbolic effect, what a company uses to symbolize its values, mission and brand identity. Dreams and symbols in psychological context have their own importance, why? Because whatever you dream, it has or it creates some symbol in your mind. Symbols can represent subconscious thoughts, desires and fears too. Another one form of a symbol is the color imagery that I said, that colors may be symbolized in the form of creating their own meanings in written text or portrayed in an art of advertisements, but they are cultural specific and hold some contextual significance when they are used by the authors or by the advertisers. So, it means you must have to find out the different meanings of the colors in the given text. Red is not always a symbol of danger, it is always not or cannot be always a symbol of love or attraction or affection. So, find out the whole context in which it is being used by the author. What are the different functions of symbolism? In various texts, it adds your depth and complexity of the author's intent. It conveys the themes and ideas. It also creates the connection and provides the religious insights or the cultural insights, or creates cultural metaphors. So, symbolism is a unique device by an author to versatile his writing in the form of a tool to convey meaning, to evoke emotion, or to create or build up connections between the writing and the reading effects. The third very important and very attractive one is the parallelism. It is a stylistic device in which similar grammatical structures, phrases or ideas are repeated in a balanced way. What balanced way? It can be a syntactic parallelism, it can be the number of words in one clause, one phrase equalizes to the other phrase used in the same sentence, for creating the similarity or rhythm in between the sentences. So, it creates rhythm, it emphasizes and brings the clarity, making the context more persuasive, memorable and for sure connective as well. Parallelism creates connection in between the different phrases, words, from the word level to sentence level it comes. So, in literary text, what is parallelism? It is often used to highlight contrast, intensify your emotions and make lines more rhythmic. For example, whenever we recall parallelism, we always remember, being a literary person, one line of Dickens' A Tale of Two Cities. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness. How beautiful, or how beautifully he used the comparison between the two contrastive opposites in a parallel form. The repetition of the structure, it was the reinforces the contrast of the historical period and gives the opening of the poetic, memorable quality to the narration. It was the novel, by providing you the intensity and the emotional appeal through parallelism while starting the narration. That is why the authors are always prescribed, start your writing with a rhythm, and that rhythm can be created to establish musicality in your poetic form or in your narration. So, it is all about how we use it in our literary context. In non-literary texts, how does it affect your advertiser's writing or attraction for the audience? Parallelism strengthens the rhetoric and persuasion through its structure. We have one more example in our speech, I remember, and I want to share it with you as well. That is Martin Luther King's speech, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up. I have a dream that one day, I have a dream today. Remember, I have a dream, a chapter in your English book as well. The repetition of I have a dream brings you into the world where you dream with Luther's ideas. So, the repeated phrase I have a dream is structurally parallel, that creates a powerful rhythm and inspires the audience for the purpose of unitedness, for the purpose of collectiveness, for the purpose of creating the memorable lines so that all the audience would be united at one point. Coming back to the advertisement slogans, often use parallelism to make messages catchy and balanced. We all know that is, it's easy to remember the product for which it is being created. For example, we have for a chocolate we have one slogan, have a break, have a Kit Kat. Remember, have a break, have a Kit Kat. So, parallelism is all there to create an effect so that you may memorize the product. The name of the product is given over there for the reason so that you must remember the name of the product. One more idea where the parallelism is most common is the use of parallelism where you might not have ever observed is proverbial form. For example, like father, like son, no pain, no gain. You remember, out of sight, out of mind. So, like father, like son, parallel noun phrases with repetition of like make the saying catchy and symmetrical. Same is the case with out of sight and out of mind, where the repetition of prepositional phrase out of sight, adverbial to prepositional phrase, emphasizes emphasizes the link between perception and memory. Same is the case with no pain, no gain, that is balanced the negation. Negation, that means negative effect, shows the cause and effect. If you have no pain, you cannot gain anything. So what brings the importance or significance of parallelism in author's intent or author's creation? It brings the memorable condition for the reader. Parallelism makes the proverbs easy to remember and repeat. For proverbs it is hard to remember. So, it brings our memory to catch the words which are repeated. It balances the ideas, it emphasizes the symmetry, often showing cause and effect, comparison and contrast, as I said, no pain, no gain, man proposes, God disposes, many more of the same kind. It creates rhythmic effect if you have observed it. So, persuasion and wisdom is also created through it. This is all about our few of the devices of the figurative language which must be memorized by you people so that you may use and you may explore all these figurative devices or the stylistic devices from the text for bringing the indented or in-depth or implicit meanings of the words which are used by the writer. There will be definitely an activity to be done by you people which will be based on these two lectures, use of figurative language in literary and non-literary text. Till the time we catch the activity, take a short break for the next lecture. Thank you so much for your today's patience. Have a nice day.